Hey, so if you've ever stayed at a job you hated just to say you paid your dues, congratulations! You've been a human doormat in the name of what exactly? Loyalty? Tradition? The promise of a gold watch that never shows up because it's in the same lost and found as your 401k? Let's get real. I was scrolling Facebook the other day, don't judge me, and I ran into some posts that are basically modern employment gospel. Moni the Pony. This is what she said. I don't stay at jobs for long periods of time because I don't believe in suffering in places that no longer serve me just to say I had some longevity there. Translation, I don't put my mental health on layaway for your resume. I don't pretend to love your TPS reports or endless Zoom calls just so HR can brag about retention stats. Then Dara Mathis drops this bomb. Millennials get a lot of flack for the way we navigate employment, but the game our parents prepared us for doesn't even exist anymore. Y'all, that one sentence should be tattooed on every laptop in existence. And that's why we're talking about it today. Why you don't owe these companies a damn thing, and why leaving is not just okay, sometimes it's necessary. Let's start with the fairy tale that we were all sold. You know the one. Get the job, grind 40 years, retire with a gold watch, maybe a plaque, shake hands, smile politely, and live happily ever after. Cute story. If your definition of happiness is slowly dying under fluorescent lighting while your benefits package evaporates like a Snapchat message. Pensions? Gone. Healthcare that doesn't make you cry? LOL. Not happening. Layoffs happen so fast that by the time you find out, the HR email already hit your inbox and your name is on a severance checklist. And yet, some part of us is still clinging to that old playbook. Stick it out. Be loyal. Suffer quietly. Let me scream into that whisper. No. Just no. That playbook died the same year Blockbuster closed. And if you're old enough to remember Blockbuster, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But let's talk about the horror stories. You know, the ones where your company promised growth opportunities, but every time you asked for a raise, you got an HR equivalent of a shrug emoji. Or when they said, we value our employees, but all the emails you got were passive-aggressive reminders of your minor mistakes. Or better yet, your benefits package included a free stress-induced panic attack every Monday. This isn't just sarcasm, it's reality. The rules changed. They didn't just bend. They evaporated like your motivation on a 3 p.m. Zoom call about synergizing synergy. And it's not your fault. Surviving this modern work environment is actually a skill. And if you've been doing it without losing your sanity entirely, congratulations. You're basically a professional superhero. All right, let's talk about the classic HR trap question. Can you explain this gap in your employment? Yes, I can explain it. But do you need it? No. Is it any of your business? Also no. Here's the brutal truth. That gap isn't a moral failing. It's called life. Maybe you were growing, learning, healing, surviving. Maybe you were literally avoiding a toxic workplace that would have sucked the soul out of you faster than a cheap energy drink. And guess what? Explaining it to someone who will probably forget about you the second your probation period ends is optional. You don't owe anyone your emotional labor, your personal story, or your trauma resume as a footnote. If an employee treats a gap like a sin, congratulations. They just told you exactly how they value humanity. Not at all. That's your cue to smile, nod, and keep walking toward people and places that actually respect a human being's life outside of the office. Now let's talk about longevity. That resume padding, that I stuck it out for 5 years badge of honor. Here's the brutal truth. It is not loyalty, it is suffering for someone else's ego. Imagine this. You're showing up every day, putting in mental labor, extra hours, maybe even pretending to be excited about the team building exercises where everyone drinks bad coffee and smiles awkwardly at a PowerPoint. And what do you get in return? A plaque that says, "Thanks for your suffering." Companies do not notice. They do not care. Emotional labor? Nope. Mental health? Ha! Sure. Longevity? Cool story until they replace you with someone younger, cheaper, and willing to nod throughout mandatory fun. Let's be real here. Staying somewhere toxic because you think you'll look loyal is like hugging a cactus because you heard it's good for the skin. Spoiler, it isn't. You do not owe a company your soul. You owe yourself peace, growth, and sanity. And if a company doesn't pour into you, don't drink the Kool-Aid. Pour yourself a glass of something stronger. Invest in yourself. Learn a new skill. Start that side hustle. Take a mental health day that doesn't require an excuse. Suffering for longevity isn't noble. It's outdated. And anyone telling you otherwise is probably still thinking AOL dial-up is cutting-edge technology. Let's take this generational. Millennials were prepped for a game that no longer exists. Student debt, sky high. Rent, laughably expensive. Remote work, confusing as hell. Side hustles, mandatory. Quiet quitting, the only sane response to constant burnout. Now imagine this from your parents' perspective. They're like, back in my day, you just stuck it out. You didn't quit. You were loyal. And sure, that worked. In a world where companies actually rewarded loyalty instead of just expecting unpaid emotional labor in return. Here's a fun comparison. What your parents think you're doing versus what you're actually doing. Parents, you're wasting your potential. Reality, you're avoiding emotional hemorrhaging while learning marketable skills and building resilience. Or how about the classic, you need to stick it out for 40 years. Meanwhile, you're looking at the same job posting 3 months later and thinking, do I really want to go another 37 years of this? Or do I want to level up my sanity and skills? And that's the kicker. Navigating work today isn't being lazy, it's survival. And survival? Totally underrated. It's brave, it's smart, and it's the difference between thriving and slowly turning into a caffeine-fueled stress burrito. All right, let's talk solutions. What does modern work-life liberation actually look like? Well, 1, define your worth first. Not the paycheck, not the title, you. Know what you need to survive and thrive. Bonus points if you can do it without crying in the bathroom. Number 2, spot the draining environments early. That place making you tense before your first paycheck clears? That is your cue. Don't wait for a catastrophe. Run like your sanity depends on it, because it does. Number 3, don't apologize for leaving. Frame it as an upgrade. Walking away is progress, not failure. You're not quitting, you're evolving. Number 4, invest in skills, side hustles, and networks that actually value you. Stop climbing someone else's broken ladder. Build your own ladder. Put it somewhere sunny. Maybe even add a slide for fun. Now let's get a little sarcastic, shall we? Picture this. If your company were a person, would you date them? No? Then why are you staying? Exactly. Here's another. If your company were a beverage, would it be something that hydrates, energizes, and supports your health? Or is it that neon energy drink that tastes like regret and heartburn? Yeah, the answer is obvious. And the healing part? Don't miss this. Walking away isn't failing. It's choosing growth over suffering. It's deciding that your peace is worth more than your job title. You're allowed to leave. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to exist without being a human coffee machine. And yeah, you will survive. You will thrive. You will look back and think, wow, I'm glad I didn't waste 5 years on that nonsense. So here's the takeaway. My brutally human friends, companies do not deserve your loyalty just because they exist. Pour yourself into yourself, your peace, your growth, your sanity. Those are the only things worth long-term investment. Don't suffer for a paycheck. Don't suffer to make someone else feel good about keeping you around. Suffer if you must, only for something that actually serves you. Or better yet, don't suffer at all. If this made you laugh, nod, or scream, finally someone said it, like, comment, and subscribe, and share this episode with that human being still stuck in a job where their soul is on layaway. Send them a rescue helicopter. Send them a coffee. Send them this video. Do whatever it takes. Stay smart, stay human, and remember, the only loyalty you need is to yourself. And also, don't forget that this episode is brought to you by Petty Merch. That's right, you can get 15% off your first order with code BRUTAL at checkout. Just go to pettymerch.xyz. Yes, that is a real site. I bought it. Until next time, do you, but do it with love and affection. I'm Kyle Fields, this is Brutally Human, and we are out.